Today's show is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Get unrestricted access to worldwide content at expressvpn.com/inside. Guys, welcome to the Inside Gaming Podcast, where we talk all about video games. Happy next-gen console week. It's been very exciting, but first, let's do the intros. I'm Brian, your host.
I'm Caden.
I'm Amir. Sorry, Evan, I thought you were going to go.
Oh, hey guys. It's me, Evan, at Darth Burrito on Twitter.
We almost had the smoothest round of intros ever.
I know.
It could have been.
We almost.
We can almost do it. We've almost learned.
Let's talk about the next-gen consoles. They both released, all of them. I guess they're each company has two of them. Yeah. Of course, the Xbox Series X and the S came out on Tuesday. The PS5, both the digital and the physical disc versions, came out on Thursday.
They technically came
I think
out.
the headlines...
I don't think they exist.
Well, they... Oh, you're a denier? You're a next-gen?
Well, I mean, I tried to get one and my beard fell out, so...
I tried to get one. I tried to get one too, and it just didn't happen. So
I'm saying, I don't think they exist.
Am I the only one who didn't even bother to try?
Maybe.
I literally I couldn't be bothered.
I wasn't going to, and then the FOMO hit me about the PS5 on Thursday, and I was like, I'll try. And so I went for a good 30 minutes.
I started at like 9 p.m. Last night, because we were recording this on a Thursday, and just tried intermittently throughout the night. I never saw an in-stock PS5 at all.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I was trying to get a digital version, so that's probably why. I'm going to stick to my guns, try and get that digital version, but it's even harder to get. So maybe if I didn't do that, I probably would have got one, but yeah, it's...
Is it?
Slim.
Is it really harder to get?
Yeah.
I think they're
I think they made less of them.
Yeah, or they're certainly giving the retailers less. I tried to both on the Walmart site and Best Buy, and I got to the point where I was able to add one to my cart on both of the sites, but when it came to checking out, it was gone. It disappeared before I could, finish up. So it's such a weird way of buying consoles on launch. Just navigating broken websites that go down because there's too many people, and they're not going to upgrade their capacity because there's no point for these retailers.
Why bother?
Yeah, there's no...
We're going to sell out of them anyway. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's no skin off their nose if they
and it really is. It honestly is probably better if you wait and just make sure they've got all the the problems fixed. And we have seen problems already. Now this we should qualify this and say that this happens every console launch, but we are seeing people showing off their PS5s that have died, Series X's. Well, there was the smoking one that turned out to just be a vape trick.
My boy Young Yi pointing it out, which is great.
Yeah. Go home, Xbox, you're high.
But the disk drive looks like it's having certainly an issue for some people. I mean, you can't tell at this point how widespread it is, but geez, it's we're already getting that first round of what's wrong with my Xbox.
I feel like this is a.
Sorry, go ahead,
I feel like this is like a huge social media thing that happened, because we've had these problems forever. Way back when, buying a Super Nintendo. While the success rate of the console was still up there, you could still get one that was busted out of the box. I mean, I went through about 18 32Xs as a kid because that thing was just a piece of garbage.
Geez, okay,
but the thing is
32X, come on.
But the thing is that's still an issue. The Genesis 3 had similar issues, and the PS1, the smaller one, had some variable success rates because of the difference in power supply and so on and so forth. So this is not new, but the fact that we have social media now, it is much more reported on than ever before, because one person saying something, then somebody copying, pasting it as if it's already widespread means that a lot of people pick it up. It's oh, maybe this is a huge issue, when it's probably maybe 1 out of 100,000 units that has that major issue.
Right, and what's new is everyone has a cell phone with a camera, and they can immediately upload a clip.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm sure that happened in 2013 with the Xbox One and the PS4, but it's just so pervasive in 2020. Yeah, that a few dozen of these out of however many hundreds of thousands or up to 1 million that they ship. I mean, it does tend to get blown out of proportion, but that disk drive thing is a little disconcerting.
That's the catchy one right there. That's the one that bothers me.
Yeah, the weird farting noises were weird, but I feel like the disk drives are always like the first thing to go, because I can tell you, like, my PS2, I remember it stopped reading the blue discs. Remember they had like the blue ones and the regular ones. My PS2 stopped reading those. PS3, the disk drive died first. Same with the PS4. I feel like the disk drive is always like the first thing to go. So
even
I think
PS1,
it's I mean, I don't remember the PS1 having any issues. But I mean, then again, I was like a freaking child.
Mine stopped spinning at some point because it probably just played so much.
Yeah, they all go at some point, but not on day one.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like 2 or 3 years old. But.
I have a launch PS1 and a launch PS2 in my closet right now. I can bust them out. They still work. I test them regularly. No issues.
Oh. I mean,
the only one I had a PS2 die
on.
on. Yeah, I had a PS2 die on me, but that's been the only. My PS4 launch one is still go. Well, it's not a launch. It was probably like after about a year I bought it, but yeah, I mean, there's you go back, you can find obviously the 360 with the Red Ring of Death was probably the most. I think the highest profile one because it just affected so many of them.
Oh yeah.
I think that's like what makes this such a thing is like we have that history specifically with Xbox. Right. We've experienced a massive hardware failure on a scale of which probably shouldn't have ever happened. And now everybody's just waiting for it to happen again, on like the happiest console day, a new console launch day, the worst thing that could happen is probably that or something similar.
It's news for outlets, so it's something that we can report on, but in the grand scheme of things, it sucks to like have any amount of people just like it's like Christmas Day for gamers. Right. They bust out the new console. It's just like I finally have it. And it doesn't work, and people having boot errors, and all these issues.
Or I finally have it.
Again,
I'm gonna blow
still
vape
very
clouds.
I mean, how many people reported on that story seriously too? Like, is the other
huge,
thing. Right?
It had all the great ingredients because there was great video of it. And it's a brand new console. It looked amazing. And then it turned out to be a fake. So that's like a 2-day story. So it's
yeah.
But that just proves that the social media aspect of how things are being reported with these new consoles. One thing said once will spread like wildfire. And it's like one person figured out a vape trick, used the vape trick, and then that spread amongst friends. So then, that turned into a social media thing. It's like, oh, Xbox Series X's, they're lighting on fire. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like the Switch's screen supposedly bent. That was a huge thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there are always all of these, but to Caden's point, you do feel terrible for these people who spent all this money on a new console, they got it, and then there's immediately a problem because that is you assume they're going to send it back and they'll either get it fixed or replaced, but that is such a terrible feeling.
Oh, and especially during launch day when a lot of other people are probably experiencing some kind of customer support issue on top of the regular workload of whatever's going on with the Xbox One still. Yeah.
And
then you tack on the fact that, it's like, okay, you want it to get fixed. You have to send it back. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. And then that means that...
How long is that going to take?
Exactly. How long is that going to take? And it's like, yes, that is an incredibly minor, tiny issue about everything in the grand scheme of things. But when you're doing something, hey, this is my treat to myself.
Right.
The year's been really shitty. I'm doing this for me. You put it up and then... and it's like, oh, man.
It's a minor issue in the grand scheme of things. But for you personally, it's
heartbreaking.
Huge.
It hurts.
Yeah. This guy, I think he went by Glow on Twitter. He posted his Series S, and it just had this weird clicking sound. And he shot a short video of it, and then at just the end, he just goes, "Brand new console," in the most defeated voice, and I felt so bad for him.
You know what else sucks is like, because I remember when I got my launch PS4, like the White Destiny one, I bought it from GameStop, the GameStop I worked at, and it's like, okay, it broke. I can take it back and just swap it out.
Right.
You can't do that with this generation because obviously we're in a pandemic. So most people have to like go to the freaking UPS store or whatever, ship this thing out,
Yes.
spend their day
Yes.
sending it. And then like, obviously the whole mail system is crazy right now. So who knows when they'll actually be able to get it back. It's just like so many different obstacles just to get your freaking console fixed if it does break. So it definitely, I feel like they definitely should have made sure that everything was really buttoned down before they actually launched these consoles.
Yeah.
Should next gen consoles have been delayed is a question I keep asking myself, because I was
Yes.
convinced that they were
Yes.
going to, as soon as all
mean-
of the E3 cancellation, GDC,
Yes.
everything,
Yeah.
when COVID started hitting, I was like, okay, next gen consoles are the next to go. They have to be.
Most of the
Right.
good games are delayed, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I don't know why that they didn't delay them, for the
mean-
simple fact that they could have had more consoles to sell. And I understand, and they still could have had it out before, end of the actual fiscal year.
End of
There's
March
nothing-
31st,
Yeah,
or before
there's no
March
reason they
31st,
couldn't have
yeah.
had that out there,
Right.
and not rush things as much as they had to have. I mean,
Yeah.
they absolutely had to have rushed things as much as they could have to meet the dates that they put out there, but it doesn't seem like in a business side of things, they still could have launched before the end of the fiscal year, still gotten that in there, still gotten those profits, still hit everything, and still been like, yay, look, we're great as far as everything, or not terrible as far as, reporting to investors. But
Holiday.
I don't know why they
wanted
didn't.
to make holiday.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
all
Just-
it is.
It's
Yeah.
like
they
the-
still would have sold out. It still doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
They
I'm pretty
still would've
sure.
sold
I'm pretty
out.
sure even if it was delayed, it would still have issues. I mean, it's just like
true.
death,
Sure.
taxes, and day one issues. The three things that are sure in life. I feel like it doesn't matter if they delayed it or not. It would still. It's
It's
just
true.
It's just because obviously they don't. I can't imagine them having like crazy rigorous like testing. You know what I mean? Like it's just like okay,
I don't
this
know.
this works for this like select group of people, but like on like a mass scale, obviously millions of people are buying this thing. I mean, there's bound to be some weird issue that was completely overlooked in like the manufacturing
Right.
process.
Phil Spencer tweeted that they had the largest launch ever in the first 24 hours of the Series X and S, and saying they're working on supply issues. He did not give hard numbers in terms of how many they sold, but Daniel Ahmad and some of the other analysts pointed out that if you compare it to the Xbox One, which the previous best, that did like 1 million worldwide in its first 24 hours. So, you can sort of make the assumption that it did more than 1 million. So yeah, I mean, that's a ton of consoles on day one. It does feel like the Series X is in a much better position competitively than the Xbox One was. But yeah, I talking about issues with the mail and sending your broken console back. I've talked about this before, but I sent some Joy-Cons back to Nintendo because they were drifting and had been for a while. It took 3 weeks for them to send back, and they sent back new Joy-Cons, which was great. But still, there was a 3-week turnaround.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how long it's going to take for a brand new console where
Yeah.
there are already supply issues.
Yeah, at least
for
a
these
month.
people to get at least.
The thing
At
is
least a
like
month.
then you have to take into consideration the fact that okay, we have your console. Do we have the parts necessary
Right,
to actually
right.
fix
Yeah.
this?
Right,
Where
exactly.
the components are actually the things that are missing. It's not like they could print 1 million of those little plastic boxes. They can send
Right.
out 4 or 5 million of those. It's the parts inside, and they're scarce right now. And
Or
Yeah.
if there's a design flaw that they just haven't addressed yet,
Yeah.
just to kind of play it out. I mean, maybe they haven't figured it out yet. I
They
just
might
don't
not know what's wrong. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I think like when I bought I bought like a 2012 MacBook Retina display, and I could tell something was up with the display right away. But it took me like 14 trips to the Mac store to try to convince them
Right.
that was the issue, because everything in their documentation about how to check for issues in these books hadn't been built yet. They didn't really
Yes.
like know what the problem was, and they had to like
Yeah.
follow the protocol to like do it right and figure it out to make sure not to do something and then void my warranty somehow or whatever. So it's like,
Yeah, it was a problem they didn't know existed.
exactly.
yet.
Yeah.
it's
then
an unknown unknown.
yeah,
so they
but even
can't
though
fix
Reddit
it.
is like blowing up, they're like, I had the same problem, exact thing, blah blah blah. And you can show them, but they still just can't do anything about it because of their like protocol for handling that particular issue doesn't have a standard operating procedure yet. And that's really going to be the case too with any like piece of hardware on the internal side. So I can't imagine like a month to get a console back. I think it's like 3 months, 4 months for a new console.
I think so too.
I don't know.
Does anyone have? I know some of us have gotten to play around with some of these consoles. Does anyone own a next gen yet? And if so, have you had any issues so far?
Nothing so far.
Okay.
But
I mean, I've only had it since launch. I had an Xbox Series X since launch, but
Okay.
and not a lot of time to play it. That really, so
Right.
we'll see.
Yeah.
I have decided, and this is the first time in a very long time, I think since the PlayStation 2 and GameCube era, that I'm not buying a console at launch. I'm not getting either of them. I'm going to wait because there's really no games. The only game I really desperately want to play is Miles Morales, and it's on PS4.
Right.
I can play it right now. I have a PS4 Pro. Yes, it sounds like a jet engine. I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
It's
that.
fine.
You're right,
It's worth waiting. And then
Speaking
you know
of
what?
which-
I'll just get it again if I really do enjoy it on the PS5 with the enhanced edition of the original Spider-Man for PS4. It'll be fine. It's fine. I can
And you're
wait.
a
It's
huge
not a big deal.
Spider-Man fan too.
I love
like
I
one
love
of the biggest. I know you're one of the biggest Spider-Man fans I know. So for you to hold off, that says something.
It does. The thing is I can still play Miles Morales on my
Right.
PS4. It's not a big deal.
Right.
I can wait
Right.
to get the upgrades. So long as it's still available to me, that's fine. I'm always somebody who's up for early adoption, but I just don't feel it this time. I'm just not feeling it. I mean, I feel like there's so much that could potentially have gone wrong in manufacturing this year and in this cycle specifically that it's worth the wait for everything.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make sense to jump at, get it at the jump because it's dangerous to invest that much money into that.
Does it? I mean, do you guys know if like, because I'm curious about this. Like to your point, Caden, like if you get a game that's cross generation, right? So like a game that's coming out on the PS4 but can be enhanced for PS5. Can you just pop that bad boy in there and it's the PS5 version, or do you have to buy? Because like that's the only reason I'm like thinking about buying Miles Morales on the PS4 and then just waiting. If I can upgrade to the PS5, or if I have to buy that same game again.
Yeah.
Like, is that how it works, or can you just put that game in there and it's the PS5 version?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
On
Let's
Xbox,
find out.
you can.
How Spider-Man PS5. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see.
So yeah, on Xbox, Amir, you can do that with some games. They won't have. It gets confusing, right? This generation, we're bringing so many of our backlog with us. But yeah, there's some games that have been enhanced for Xbox Series X, and even ones that haven't been have been reported to have like better load times and sometimes even frame rate, and depending on how the game was built, I think. So yeah, you can do that. But PS5, the backwards compatibility is working kind of differently. We haven't heard as much about it. Like the biggest sense of backwards compatibility is like games could potentially run better, I'm guessing, based on the hardware, but it's emulating the PS4 with like a specific PS4 chip, essentially.
Just like
Microsoft has the smart delivery thing. So where if it's a first party game and you buy it for the Xbox One, then yes, they'll sort of upgrade it if you get a Series X. Sony has historically been less cool about that. I mean, so has Microsoft until this gen, but I don't know if Sony has a comparable thing.
Yeah, there was some back and forth about Miles Morales. Caden, you got the scoop for us?
Yeah, I got it right now.
Okay.
This is on Fansided. With Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, you're actually able to upgrade from the PS4 to the PS5 at no extra cost, regardless of whether or not you buy the PS4 version as a physical disc or a digital download. The PS5 version you will receive will be digital. So if you buy it physical or digital, you will get a PS5 version digitally. No extra cost. So there you go.
Awesome.
I don't really even need to do anything.
Awesome.
Boom.
And I think that changed recently because that wasn't. I don't feel like that was always the case at first. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Thanks, Kaden.
There is to obtain your upgrade, you will need to insert your PS4 Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales game into your PS5 console.
And then just.
But if you have a digital version, you don't really need to do anything. It's going to be already there for you.
I assume it does the Iron Man upgrade power armor to the disc inside the PS5.
Yeah, the Mark 6 armor just shoots out. It's like, all right, let's go.
Covers the disc in titanium.
I'm kind of the same way as Caden said in terms of I'm waiting. Like I'm definitely going to get at least the PS5, but I'm holding off for now. I mean, the last big console launch was the Switch a few years back. I mainly got that for the form factor. Like I just wanted to. I thought the portability was so cool, and just kind of the way to play the game was interesting. Whereas these are both traditional consoles still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, play on your couch with a controller. I am excited about the DualSense controller. I think that looks cool. And the backwards compatibility stuff that Xbox has been doing is awesome. And basically putting out a machine that can play like almost every old Xbox games, it seems like, is bananas. So like there's a lot of cool things about these consoles, but yeah, it's ultimately, for me too, it just comes down to, there's got to be some game or a couple games where I'm like, okay, I got to upgrade now.
Totally.
Yeah. And don't if you're at home, like don't give in to the FOMO if like it's going to crunch your budget or whatever. There's no reason for it, especially this gen, and it's easy to do. I mean, like I say that as someone who got an Xbox Series X, so I'm speaking from like a privileged position, but like that's a big thing. If it's like in a different time, then I would have totally passed on both of these for like 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 months.
Yeah.
The FOMO is real because I tried this morning. I mean, like I said, to get a PS5, I didn't try like super hard, but I did I knew when some people's stock was going to come in or when they said they were going to get, new supplies or they were going to release more. So I definitely tried. So yeah, it is very hard to resist.
Yeah,
it is, especially if you never upgraded to like the PS4 Pro or, and you're just like, now's my opportunity to freaking throw this thing in the trash.
Right. Yeah. Then you get to do that like super leap, I remember upgrading from like an iPhone 3 to a 6 or something. It just felt like a rocket ship. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
What else? There was one other thing I wanted.
I do want to make a quick
please.
point about like the digital versions. I'm surprised that the digital, because I know earlier you guys said that the digital versions were more rare. I'm actually surprised because that's like the last thing I would want. Like I have so many PS4 games like physical that like I feel like buying a digital version, like I might as well just toss all of them. Like there's nothing I could do with them. Well, obviously not throw them away, but you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean though. Yeah, because I have a lot of PS4 discs too.
Yeah.
So it's that $100 cheaper is nice, but yeah, I would want to be able to play all those PS4 discs and just kind of move on from my launch PS4 or my very early PS4.
And that brings up the point to upgrade Miles Morales. If you bought a disc version, you kind of need that disc version of that. So it's like, there is a problem there. I mean, maybe there's going to be a workaround at some point, but if you didn't buy a disc version of the PlayStation 5, then you're gonna not get the upgrade, which it's like realizing that now is like, that's kind of a bummer.
That's how they get you. Speaking of which, it's getting good reviews. Like I've seen people like really praising it and people saying, it's only like 8 hours or 10 hours to get through. Like that's perfect for me. I love it. I have no problem with an 8 to 10 hour game.
Wasn't the first one fairly short?
No.
I don't remember. I liked it so much that it felt fast.
It flew by for me. Like it was so good that I remember like beating it fairly quickly. I just don't.
About 15 hours, about 15 to 20 hours, depending on what difficulty you go on. Or let me take a look. Let me double check that. Main story is about 17 hours. Main plus extras is 24 and a half hours. Completionist runs about 33 hours. Damn. Average is about 25. I probably put about 175 hours into that game.
It didn't feel padded, and the thing I really liked about it is I was a little awkward at the beginning when I was learning how to like web sling, but then by the end you just like you really do feel like you're like better at being Spider-Man. It was
really feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it's probably one of my that and Nier Automata are probably my games of the generation.
Wow. That's hard to argue with. Yeah,
and the thing
those
is,
are both great.
And Bloodborne. I can't knock Bloodborne. Bloodborne was too good.
I need to go back and replay Bloodborne for like the 100th time and finally get past like the second boss.
Did you really? You haven't gotten past the second?
I suck at that
game.
Come on. So I've played it so many times. I love the gameplay loop. I love the gameplay. Everything about it, I love it. But
we're gonna break this down. What's the point? Why do you stop? This is, I mean, everybody has heard us talk about Bloodborne a million times. Yeah. And you're saying it's like you can't get past the second boss. I assume the second boss is, which one was the second boss for you? There's bosses.
Know. It's like you're in like a graveyard and it's like some like shadow version of you, I think.
No, it's the other hunter. Yeah,
The other hunter. That is technically like the first.
Is it?
Well, there is like a small boss before that.
It's an optional one that you can get
the
to.
ogre,
it's
right?
not
Or like the big
yeah, there's
thing
the ogre that
that's
comes
guarding the
before.
gate.
Yeah,
But-
so technically, yes, I'd say it's the second boss. But do you play like very aggressively, or do you play super defensively? Because there is a way the game wants you to play.
Yeah, I start off very aggressive, and then I'll start like doing the dodge, and then the hit, and the dodge, and the hit. But I suck at that game. I don't know why.
It rewards you. It does reward you for being actively aggressive in that game.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to like really lean into them, because the more you actually start getting those visceral attacks, you're gonna start getting health back. So you can just keep leaning into them. And it's not that it's. I want to see you beat this game.
All right.
Is a very.
I'm gonna. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna actually try to get my happy ass.
I
through
believe in
Bloodborne.
you.
I'm with you, Amir. I'm terrible at Souls games and Bloodborne. I'm also terrible, and it takes me so much energy to get through them, if at all.
I had the exact same
Yeah.
with Bloodborne, and then Caden gave me that same advice, and it really did work. That you have to be more aggressive because you're used to playing Dark Souls,
Exactly.
and having to block and sort of block and counter, and Bloodborne's just
really just lean into them. Also, everybody sleeps on it. Use the axe. Just use the axe. It's so much better.
Yeah,
I'm 100% an axe girl. It works so much better. Everybody wants to use the cool, like, oh look, it looks like the giant razor blade. It does look cool. The axe will make your life easier, and then you can get the other weapons later. Don't worry, they'll still be there for you, but start out with the axe, and it will give you enough power and enough distance, because you can do those heavy swings and just take care of everybody. It's great. I love the axe.
Well, that'll be a good swan song for my PS4.
There you go. Yeah. All right, we're going to get to the rest of the stories in just a second. But first, guys, let's talk ExpressVPN. So we all know a VPN protects your privacy and your security online, right? But I didn't know this until recently. It's taken my TV watching game to the next level. You can use a VPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. For example, over the weekend, I used ExpressVPN to binge Doctor Who on UK Netflix. It was awesome. Just fired up the ExpressVPN app, changed my location to UK, refresh Netflix. That's it, because it hides your IP address, and ExpressVPN lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from 100 different countries, so just think about all the Netflix you could go through. Anime, you can use ExpressVPN to access Japanese Netflix, get spirited away, but it's not just Netflix. It works with any streaming service, Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. It's ridiculously fast. There's never any buffering or lag. You can stream in HD, no problem. If you visit my special link right now, expressvpn.com/sendnews, you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Support the show, watch what you want, protect yourself at expressvpn.com/sendnews. And thank you to ExpressVPN. And one more thing, more important. Well, not more important than ExpressVPN, because nothing's more important, but just as important, guys, is your skin. What it looks like. I know we're all locked down, but here's the cold hard truth, everybody. Your skin has needs, and if you want it to look as good as possible for as long as possible, you need to address them now. I get it. You might not know where to start. It's tough, but there's a company that has taken all the guesswork out of it for you. Lumen. Lumen is on a mission to give men the amazing skin they deserve through high-quality, expert-created products delivered right to your door. All their products are formulated specifically for men's skin and made to target skin issues with maximum efficacy using top-notch ingredients like charcoal, green tea extract, and vitamin C. I use the moisturizing balm. It's so good, and I forget to moisturize all the time after the shower, but now it's right there. I just put it right by my toothbrush, so I know what to do as part of my routine. Super important. Moisturizing is something I think so many people forget about, but Lumen Skin makes it easy. You deserve to look and feel your best. Here's where you start. Go to lumenskin.com/sendnews to get a 1-month free trial of everything you need to start your skincare journey at home. That's lumenskin.com/sendnews, all one word, SENDNEWS, to get your first month for free. lumenskin.com/sendnews. So thanks for that. Other big story of the week, the Avengers And this is it's not a new story. It's been out for a couple months. But wow, it has not been great. Square Enix reported their earnings, and it they didn't get into like sales for the game, but the department that made it reported a $62 million loss. So that is not great. And if you look on Steam charts, its player base is just like sort of regularly dipping below 500. Obviously, the game has two parts. It's got the single player campaign, got pretty good reviews, but then the looter, the online, the Destiny 2-ish portion is kind of, that's what they wanted their games as a service game to be. It has not been doing well. There's been an analyst who predicted that it might have cost them $190 million to produce and market the game, but only sold around 3 million units. So, it is looking like a bust right now. Square Enix has said they've sworn they're going to turn it around and they're going to fix the issues, but it's in that spiral right now that's not good.
Yeah.
All right, Caden, go ahead.
All right,
Yes.
finally, I'm finally on the podcast and we're talking about this game again. Thank you. I was right. Everybody had been talking about this. Everybody roasted me in the comments every time. It's like, why does Caden hate this game? Why does Caden think it's going to fail? I didn't hate the game. It's got Kamala Khan in it. I wanted this game to be good.
Yeah.
And the more they talked about it, the more it was just another games as a service game with another lovely, sugary coated wrapper that just happens to be a popular one. And I knew it was going to inevitably fail because they didn't actually give it the support it needed to. If it had a solid single player campaign with the addition of that, games as a service thing on the side, it would have done way better. Nobody talked about that single player campaign because everybody was so focused on that multiplayer stuff that it overshadowed it. Even though the people who did play that single player campaign and did talk about it, they liked it. Yeah. The multiplayer way overshadowed it. And eventually it went the way of everybody's favorite thing to point at in the last 2 years, Anthem, because it's exactly what it was. It was Anthem 2, Electric Boogaloo, but this time we had Iron Man.
A lot of the same complaints, not a lot of content. The loop, the gameplay loop wasn't satisfying, very grindy. The gameplay was kind of button mashy. So yeah, a lot of the same. They saw these issues in the beta, and even before that, people didn't like the character models. I mean, it's one of those games where in the build up to it, like everything they showed seemed to get like a negative response. So it's had issues from very early on.
So my thing is always
from the jump.
Always been that yes, the game potentially could be bad. The single player aspects of it I had played pre-launch seemed pretty tight. And I felt like if they could deliver that all the way through, it would be pretty good. And it seems like to an extent they did. They told an interesting story with Kamala Khan. I mean, when it finally came out, I didn't get very far in that because as soon as I played Hulk and I couldn't one-shot grunts, I was like, oh, this does not feel like I wanted to for an Avengers game. Yeah. But at the same time, my whole thing was like, even if the game isn't good, the Avengers brand name is probably going to carry it.
Right.
No.
And it did carry it. I mean, 3 million copies is not nothing. Like a lot of games would wish they could sell 3 million copies. And I saw a story also that was like the next gen version got delayed, and that's what also hampered their sales. I don't think they would have made up. I think they're projecting 5 million sales. I don't think it would have been 2 million sales on next gen consoles. Not everybody who buys an Xbox. Here's the fun part.
Everybody keeps saying that, the Marvel brand will totally carry it. And I saw it a bunch in our own comment sections on a bunch of the videos we did about Marvel Avengers. Like, nah, they should have just made another Ultimate Alliance game. They did. You didn't buy that either. They made a third one.
Oh, the Black Order one. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that game.
I mean, the Star Wars brand should have been able to carry Battlefront 2, but it didn't. People hated it.
It's true.
I mean, I don't know.
And also that game
was a mess. And
I mean, I would hate to go back to Spider-Man here, but Spider-Man had a formula that worked. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because it was a game. they built a story and a character, and you got attached and were emotionally invested. Instead of do the loot drop, go do the quest, do the loot drop. Oh, you didn't get what you want? Do it again. Now do it again. Now do it again. And you didn't get anything you wanted for any of the characters you like? Eat shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like if they would have just spent way more time on this game and just literally made it like Spider-Man, but you play as all the other Avenger characters. How cool would that have been? I mean, I feel like that would have been so much better.
Maybe they were trying to get him as close to the movies as possible. I don't,
Dude, they were trying to bank on the success of the MCU. But that game, if that's the case, that game came out 5 years too late.
True.
Everybody,
Yeah.
And they were. I mean, there's of course, it's a heavily guarded IP. They need to like protect all this stuff and make sure that it's all taken care of. So I understand that there's talks with Disney and Marvel and the heads of those companies to be able to pitch that game.
Right. Maybe they agreed to a date at the beginning, or some sort of window. I don't know.
And it just ends up being, this is yet another, it's like, it feels like another one of those, the evolution of a movie tie-in game. That's where this lands. It's like, this is like that Captain America game that came out on the Xbox 360. Is it terrible? No, not really. But is it memorable? And do people go back and play it? No. Not really.
It's a big budget, high stakes game because who knows how much it costs. And Evan's right, $3 million is a lot, but maybe you needed to sell $5 million to break even, or to turn a profit. So
it's why those big games, a lot of people have been delving into the idea of doing a AA game over a AAA game because you lower those costs, you lower the length of the game, you take a step back. And there have been critical responses to those games that outshine their AAA counterparts.
Look at Mummy Reboot game, I think, is a really good example of that. It was like a 2D Metroidvania style game, and people loved it, but the movie just completely bombed. And they could have done the same thing with an Avengers game where they like really reduced the scale and had something interesting, unique, and fun where you're playing as different Avengers, even if it's 2D. You could still on that brand name
remastered the Konami beat 'em up. God, the old beat 'em up back in the day. It's like
Caden had a great point though. These are heavily guarded properties. That means you're in a lot of meetings. A lot of people are probably getting a say in this game. It's not just one person's vision. A lot of guys in suits or in very expensive jeans. Yes. Yeah. But it's and going back to Battlefront 2, I realized that people do like that game, but it had a very troubled launch. For all the monetization and everything. But just an example, I brought that up as to how even these big properties can just be messes if people aren't going to automatically buy them anymore.
And it's not the fault of the developers. It's really just how it all shakes up top. It's like we have to make deals to do these certain things. Right. This is the time the game comes out, and we need the game to be like this because that's what the people above us want. And then the people actually working on the game who are working tirelessly and crunching and pouring their heart and soul into making sure that Hulk and Kamala Khan and Thor have accurate costumes and styles of fighting. They just bust their ass on something that people are just like, nah, game's shitty. And it's like, it really hurts. And it's like, I'm sure those people feel real, like personally hurt by it. It's not your fault if you're out there watching.
And you're dealing with people at the top who just want a cash machine and they don't care what you do, just make it work.
Yeah, or also they could look at things like Destiny and be like, look, that's working. Let's do that. They've got these people hooked, and they look at the returns on Destiny DLC and things like that, digital sales, and they're like, let's build one of those, but with the Avengers brand name. It cannot fail. Look at what we got, these two powerhouses.
The problem is they see the outlier, not the rest. They see Destiny, it's like, well, that worked, but then they don't see the 80 other Destiny clones.
It's like all the World of Warcraft killers 15 years ago.
You can say you want to do something, but it doesn't mean you're actually going to be able to do it. Just come up with a unique concept and then find the wrapper that works for it. It's the best way to go about things.
And Destiny and Destiny 2 both had tons of issues.
Absolutely.
Had content, a lot of the same issue. Now, there was I think a very solid core game at the center of it all, but I mean, Destiny has had years of
in a lot of ways they still haven't even nailed it perfectly because their community is still kind of pushing back on a lot of Destiny 2 changes and those sorts of things. I think people who are invested into Destiny 2 and are still playing it are probably could tell you the most, have the most criticisms about how loot mechanics and things work in that game. And when I was at a press event for Avengers, I was like, you guys do realize, I asked this question and they weren't talking about multiplayer at the time, just loot drops. And I was like, I realize the type of game you're going for, but are you guys paying attention to Destiny and the problems it's having right now? Because at the time, there was a lot of pushback on how some of the loot systems were working, and they were just like, yeah, we can't talk about it. And it's like, obviously you can't talk about it because it's probably on fire and you're trying to figure it out. It's probably a really hard thing to do.
Awful,
and even at the core of this, this kind of loot style game comes from, like its origins come from like Diablo, I want to say, and even Diablo 3, like the creators of Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 had like tons of issues getting like loot driven games to work right, you know. Like it's a huge undertaking, so it's so scary to me. If I was like a dude in a suit, a big investor, I would stay far away. I mean, I can't imagine it, but well, maybe now without my beard, but I would stay as far away from a loot-driven game as I could, you know.
Because it does feel like a big developer just jumping onto a craze,
and you have to support it.
Like with the
that's
battle royale. Forever.
Yeah.
The thing is like by the time they actually catch wind of what this is, it's like it's over.
Yes,
the hype for that is completely gone, and it's like, oh, it's why Anthem felt so like, oh, they're doing this. I mean, they're known for the single player stuff. It's not bad that they're trying to do more multiplayer stuff, but they're trying to do this.
Yeah.
This is their plan for their next big IP is a looter shooter?
Yeah.
Really?
Do you think that they'll pull a No Man's Sky for Avengers? Do you think they'll completely rework
they're
the
claiming
game?
they will.
Anthem's still claiming that they're gonna too, and I ain't seeing anything
That's
about that.
Yeah, but No Man's Sky proves it's possible.
Yes,
It's true.
It's
true. But
possible.
No Man's Sky is also an indie studio in comparison
true.
to these other
Yeah,
studios,
that's
which
true.
they were able
with
to
a brand
take a
new
look
IP.
at things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
could do whatever
they
they
were able
wanted.
to like right the ship because they had a core and they had a design that they wanted to do. They should have just launched. I mean, the difference is No Man's Sky should have been early access, not a full game.
Right.
These are supposed to be full games.
Yeah.
They were not.
I mean, to Square Enix's credit, they are committing to saying like, "Hey, we're gonna fix this," but we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, but
and they have turned around. Sorry, go ahead, Namir.
I was just gonna say the way I see it is like I think that if they got rights to this IP to make a game out of it, and Disney doesn't see it as fruitful, I can't imagine Disney being like, okay, here's $10 million more after you lost us this much money. Redo
Y'all
the
get 'em
game
next
or fix
time.
it. Yeah, like Disney's gonna be like, no, dude, you guys ruined this. Like, you know, we're taking our IP and we're going back home. We're taking the ball. We're not playing with you guys anymore.
Right? No, we're not entrusting this to you.
Yeah.
And the other thing, what was I going to say? The other thing is when you come in late on a thing like this, your competitor games have like already refined so much. Like I think of Destiny 2 or like Monster Hunter World is honestly the other one that had a huge, a huge launch. People loved it. Then a huge expansion that almost doubled the size, the Iceborne expansion. So they're not the exact same game, but they're in the same orbit.
Yeah.
And I think that people just have so many options of where else to go.
And Square Enix does have a history of making a comeback. The
They
Final
brought
Fantasy.
it back. Yep, exactly. They brought 14 back.
That is true.
But that took a long time to do it too.
And that's
And that
a
was
core
their
property
IP.
for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's something that
Yes.
Square Enix developed. This is developed by Crystal Dynamics.
Yes.
This is a secondary studio for them. So it's not necessarily like, as much as Square Enix, I think, wants to be invested on fixing this, I don't think they necessarily are as invested as maybe Crystal Dynamics is, which means that at some point, Square Enix is going to have to cut their losses on this.
See, I
which
think
is
they're
similar
invested on it not being a flop, though. I feel like they're going to keep
because
this will look so bad.
to the point, Bayonetta had issues for the PS3 and Xbox 360, but Sega, the people who funded it for the original launch of it, they only gave enough money to fix one of those versions. So the PS3 version to this day is a broken mess.
Oh, wow.
But the Xbox 360 version is working perfect and it's great. They did bring back those, they did remaster and kind of fix up a bunch of stuff. So if you buy Bayonetta now on, a new platform, you can play it on Xbox and Switch and you can play it on pretty much everything at this point. They work. It's fine. But for the entire duration of the PS3 and 360 generation, Bayonetta just didn't work on the PS3 as well as it should, and it had frame rate issues, and it had stutters, and it's a high action, brawler game. You need that, otherwise it just sucks.
And talking about Final Fantasy 14, they had to take the first game down offline and kept it down for the better part of a year, almost a year. They're not going to do that with
into
Avengers.
the lore.
Yeah.
Bahamut just came in, destroyed everything. It's just like, no, we've reset the servers. It's fine.
But
we worked the original game getting destroyed into the lore.
But Evan is right. I mean, they have done this before. So, and I don't know. it's one of those things, these big properties, they're huge properties. They're very popular, but they have so much expectation too. It's like if you're gonna make it, you've got to go like all out, and it's got to be really good. Because if it doesn't hit a certain level, I think people are just gonna just shit on it and go do something else.
Yeah.
Totally.
Rip.
All right, let's go to questions, everybody's favorite.
Cool.
Let me pull up now. These all came in through our Twitter at Inside Gaming. Christian Simmers asks, with Project xCloud and the Nintendo Switch uplifting portable gaming to a AAA level, where would be the most fantastic place to play your games now? That's a good question.
I don't know, like Hawaii.
I was thinking like a beach, like so you
cool.
could just ignore you're in paradise. Yeah.
Yeah. Gabe Newell seems to be pretty happy over there in New Zealand, so maybe somehow.
Yeah, in your bunker in New Zealand.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that story where he's actually trying to get like a large section of Valve, everybody moved to New Zealand so they could work there?
That's such a billionaire thing
like
to do. They all love New Zealand. Yeah,
it's like a New Zealand news story or something. But
because it's like a first world developed country, but it's kind of just out on its own.
Yeah, and their COVID response has been like really good. So
but there's so much open land there for them to take over, bulldoze, and put buildings over and ruin entirely.
Right.
I wonder at the heart of this question, are they asking just was that, did we take that right, like a physical place?
Where would be the most fantastic place to play your games now? I don't know, probably space station. Station would be really cool.
Yes, that would be cool.
A volcano
base. On my couch. I don't go anywhere.
Base.
My love seat instead of the couch.
Right, exactly.
George Forearm asks, should I take the free Stadia Premier / Chromecast Ultra deal if I have YouTube Premium? So what they're referring to is YouTube Premium has a deal where if you sign up or something, if you're a member,
I think you have to already be signed up.
Okay, then you get a free Chromecast Ultra and like a month of Stadia. I mean, try it out.
Take it and cancel it.
And you get the joystick and you get the controller too.
Yeah,
I mean,
why not?
If you have good internet, there's some stuff to play. It's still a little. I mess around with
Take
Stadia
it and cancel it.
bit. Yeah,
and even if you don't like it, now you have a
gifts,
firsthand experience and an opinion that you can share with other people. Like,
and it's a free Chromecast.
Yeah, that's the benefit.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, you get a free Chromecast, which does work, even if Stadia doesn't.
Yeah.
So
what have you got to lose, except for maybe 1 month where you forget to cancel that thing?
The best thing I can say about Stadia is if you have fast internet, it does work pretty well. But there's just still not a lot to play on it. I thought Cyberpunk might help it a little bit because they got it the same day everybody else did, but I don't know. Multiple Gooses asks, do y'all think the sales disparity between the PS5 and the Series S and X will be like the one between the Xbox One and the PS4, or would it be closer to equal or even flip this generation with PS5 falling behind? I think it's going to be tighter than this gen was because the PS4 just ran away with it.
Yeah.
I think in a couple of years when the Microsoft their various studios start cranking out stuff, I think that's going to make the Series X more attractive. I think the PS5 is still going to win, but it'll be closer.
Yeah. I remember like when this generation initially came out, like the gap wasn't huge. Like I remember they were both like selling pretty close to each other, but then out of nowhere the PS4 just like took off.
Yeah,
exclusives, baby.
Yeah, I think now PlayStation is more like, it's gonna be a weird comparison, but I think it's kind of like iPhone where people are gonna buy it because it's that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, you know, like just like with these pretty early issues that these consoles are having, you know, PS5s are straight up dying. People are vaping onto their Xboxes. I'm pretty sure even at people after seeing that, they're still going to buy the PS5. I mean, you know, it's impossible to get one right now.
Yeah, the visual image of like smoke coming out of a console is so affecting. Like that's I feel like even though it's fake, it is going to affect people in the way that trickles down like into the general.
And those discs too. Yeah, but you're right. A lot of people won't be able to. get the update that, oh, that's fake. That's not really a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I do think, that PlayStation brand, to your point, it's so strong at this point that I think, it's
Do you
just,
feel they've reached Nintendo levels where it's like the people who are the diehards will officially just be like, it's like no matter what it is, it's like if they release a PlayStation equivalent of the Wii U, people are going to be like ride or die.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think for a certain age of person, yes.
Yeah.
For me, no. Like Nintendo is still, I think, because I was around in the 80s, and so they're always going to be kind of in a league of their own.
Yeah.
But I think for younger people, absolutely. And also Sony has not released a bad console, like a bad traditional console. Even the PS3, the PS3 wasn't. It still had like a lot of exclusives, whereas Nintendo has released the Wii U was a stinker. The Xbox One, I feel like, was a letdown. So I just feel like Sony has a pretty good track record. The PS1, PS2, PS3, and obviously the PS4. It's a pretty good batting average.
You mean like the original
no.
Xbox, you're saying, right? Like, I know you said Xbox One, but in terms of launch, like consoles that...
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
The Xbox One, 100%.
Okay. I don't know.
No, I meant the one. To
the
me, I
one,
felt like the
yeah.
Xbox One was a letdown.
Oh, it was.
Oh. I think
the
like in terms of the titles and exclusives that are available, I feel like it is like out of the gate too, the messaging around it really, really hurt it. Like they
picked it up a lot with Game Pass.
Yes.
I will
Oh,
say
yeah.
that.
The thing
and I
is
think
like
that helped.
if people were actually paying attention to what Microsoft wanted to do in the beginning, it was a lot like
It is now.
what Game Pass
Yes,
kind of has
yes.
now, and they just needed to have better messaging.
Yes.
They talked too much. They did the science behind it, and they're just like, look at our diagram. We have a PowerPoint presentation, and then people are like, boring.
Yeah. They're like,
So
what,
it's
you won't
gonna
let me
be
play
always
used
on
games
line.
on
Yeah,
my...
It's got all these
Yep.
features you
Well, it was
don't
also
want.
the Connect
Yeah.
thing too, right? Like you had to have the
Yes.
Connect
Yep.
on.
Yeah,
you had to
Kinect
tell it
was-
to turn it on. It was just a rough launch that just really set the precedent for its entire life
was
cycle.
too much.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I think Microsoft really learned a lot. The Series X and S. They look great. Like I'm personally not like a huge Xbox guy, but like if I had like a massive backlog of Xbox games chilling, I would totally buy one. But I think that people are just gonna be like, because just looking for like at like public perception, like just on Twitter, online in general, like the fact people couldn't get a PS5, like it's number one on trending right now. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's insane. I don't know. Only time will tell. If they release new second versions of these consoles, who knows? Maybe Xbox will take it. Maybe they'll do some crazy thing. Maybe they'll have better exclusives. Because really, I feel like it's going to be a generation of exclusives again.
And also for
They
reference,
have definitely learned from, I think, their mistakes with
Yeah.
the One and all the studios they've been buying. Yeah, exclusives are not going to be an issue. They are now. They won't be in a few years.
Yeah, and for reference, the difference was like 48 million to, we're working on a story about this, I just read it, but like 48 million to 113 million or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's almost like not quite, but nearly double. Like I don't think that PlayStation is going to run away with it that much again. And also things are going to shift too, because there are going to be Xbox exclusives this time. There's like 15
Right.
studios lined up ready to serve you those exclusives. And now Bethesda eventually, right? Like that whole situation is going to change this generation quite a bit.
and,
Yes,
and both of them
exactly.
have 2 SKUs now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, I feel like if the PS5 had launched with some killer exclusive, I think it might have been different. And and just sort of jumped out of the gate. I think Miles Morales looks awesome, but I don't think it's that. It's not the Demon Souls remake, although I'm super stoked to play that. But I think they're both fairly equal right now. With the PS5 having a little bit of an edge on having a few more things to play on it.
Yeah.
I do think it'll be closer. Here's a related question from JT. Going into the console marketing season, it seemed like Sony had really shot themselves in the foot by not releasing any hype material. Their first real reveal event was technical jargon. He's talking about the Mark Cerny presentation.
Oh, yeah.
It really felt like Microsoft had won the console war. Why do you think Sony did this? I think Sony came back when they finally showed off Miles Morales and what the PS5 looked like. And they had that big event. They kind of dropped a bunch of stuff. I feel like but I do feel like Microsoft's messaging was better and they just released more and more frequent info about it.
Yeah, and then Sony turned it around with things like Miles Morales. I feel like with the like in the Demon Souls remake, it's really not that much, but it's enough to like give people an excuse to buy a new console. So it's wild to see how that
it's
exclusive.
more than what Xbox has to offer right now. It's like even the lead up to I think that's what kind of killed the momentum for the Series X personally, despite it still selling very well, is as we were, I mean, even though the reviews around the PlayStation 5 were, hey, we're talking about Astro's Playroom and only Astro's Playroom, at least that's something new.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything about the Series X and the Series S was, well, it runs Red Dead real good. It's like,
it's a great way to play Game Pass.
I got a PC right here, or I got an Xbox, or I got a PlayStation 4, and it runs. It's not the best, but it definitely runs.
Yeah.
I mean, why do I gotta mess with success here? Why do I have to buy a console for $500 to play the games I already can play on all of the stuff that I have?
I'm looking forward to addressing my backlog on it. Like that's the reason I got it at launch. Aside
that's
from
why
like,
they want you. That's what they want you to do. Yeah.
But like I want to play an enhanced version of Control. I want to play enhanced versions of other games that I haven't gotten to yet, because it's going to make that experience that much better. But yeah, it's interesting to see how quickly the narrative shift around there. It's almost as if all of those executives and guys in business who's like, what do we got this month? What's coming up in the summer? Oh, we got a console we got to launch. Okay, let's make some. And then you saw like these high production value like promo videos come out where people are like floating through space and like the a giant octopus commercial for the DualSense and stuff. Like that stuff just kind of came out of nowhere at the last minute. So maybe that was their plan
that's
all
on brand.
Along,
That's on brand, dude. Like I PlayStation commercials have always been like have nothing to do with PlayStation sometimes. Like
it's true.
The crying baby, like the freaking
I forgot about the crying.
And like the most recent, not the most recent one, but like the one they released for like it's like the dudes walking through the tunnel, and it's like I didn't even know what the hell I was watching, and then it was a PlayStation commercial.
There was like a Vita one that was just like assassins living in a hotel or something.
Yeah.
Like
up with all.
I think there might have been some complacency on Sony's part this time around, or maybe a little like, we killed it, and we're gonna.
What was the PSP one? It's like a nut you can play with outside. It's like, what the hell is
I do remember that one.
And with the launch, like with the Series X, I mean, Microsoft has been doing all these events in London and New Zealand and these big hologram displays and things. I mean, they're really leaning into this.
And I'm sure they both have their own like plans of action. Like I'm sure they all kind of know how the market works. They know how to market. You know, Sony, I feel like there is that issue of complacency, and that's kind of like what Microsoft suffered from when they released the Xbox One. Is because the 360 did so well.
Yep.
The 360 was awesome, and I think they knew that. So they were like, okay, we could just we could fart in a cup and give it to people.
We got this figured out. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was hoping that wouldn't happen with PlayStation since the PS4 was so successful. And it looks like it didn't entirely happen because at least they are still releasing something, but I just think on both ends, they both should have had like just solid bangers right out of the gate. I mean, I get it. Nothing's coming out. People are making games from their home offices, but like they gotta have something. I mean, Astro's Playroom is cool.
I feel like Halo Infinite would have killed if a good Halo Infinite would have just murdered. Devout Frenzy asks good questions. Both consoles seem to have lackluster available storage, but the risks are not equal. With Xbox focusing so much on xCloud, I think it's not that big of a deal, but Sony is miles behind them in terms of streaming. Does this pose a long-term risk to Sony if it doesn't step up streaming? That's a great point.
That's a good
yes,
question.
I think that is. I mean, because the problem is, these solid state drives is 80% of the selling point with these consoles. And if you've got something, if you've got external storage, but it won't play, I think you're just going to have to move a lot of files around. I don't think it's like a huge existential threat. I think it does have the potential to be a pain, though.
Seems like PS5 external storage also isn't working right now. Like, I think I read a story recently.
Well, some of it, that internal slot is not working.
The internal slot, but also I think external hasn't been flipped over yet to the USB ones. I could be wrong.
So you gotta like pick your poison. Do you want to get that super expensive, stupid proprietary memory stick that is totally a bad idea? Or do you want to just wait for Sony to fix their actual problem with external storage? This storage thing is such a nonsense thing. It's like they really should have thought.
This should have been the first thing they thought about.
Oh my god! With
Games
as
are
big as
huge.
games are getting,
Jesus, like I have an external hard drive for my PS4, and the fact that external hard drive has more space than the newest console, that makes no sense to me.
Right. That the series, I think it's one of the Xboxes, just has like a hair bigger storage than the Xbox One.
Yeah,
I mean it's ridiculous.
like 12 gigs more or something weird.
Yeah, after the OS, it's like because
Yeah.
it's 800 and something, and then it brings the PS5 down to 625 or something like that, which is awful.
Yeah.
It looks like
I'm
external is
sure
working.
they'll optimize it eventually. I mean, they have to, right? Like, it's just
Yeah.
insane. Either that, or they'll just kind of do like with like the, like the PS3, where they just like slowly start, rolling out bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I don't know. It's so weird to me. I mean, I have no problem buying an external. I did that for the PS4. I'm probably gonna do it again with this one. The solid state drives are typically more expensive, though.
I do think it's a good thing to point out because it's crazy how small these drives, and I know SSDs are like, they're smaller, and the bigger they get, it really gets expensive. They're clearly trying to keep costs down, but it's going to be an issue. All right, well, that is all the podcasts we got for y'all this week. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you right back here next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Inside Gaming Podcast. We talk all about video games here, and we have quite the big week coming up, everybody. It's Next Gen Eve over here at Inside Gaming because the Xbox Series X, the S, and the PS5